Will Brown joins us here on Big Board Sports. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. What's up, guys?
How are you, Coach? Let's start with the somber news, because it was somber after the game, and you had brought this up to us a little bit earlier, so we were privy to it and used it on a broadcast. But David Nichols played pretty well, 21 points on Saturday night. That was after finding out his 24-year-old sister, Cecilia Coleman, died in Chicago on Saturday after a long struggle with leukemia. And I know on the ESPN3 broadcast, I gave out condolences to the family, and they were watching the game on ESPN3. And his father, Donald, sent me a nice tweet. But it was obviously was a difficult night for David Nichols. He flew out to Chicago early on Saturday morning. So what's his status moving forward this game? And obviously you got to take care of the family first, Will. You're all about that. But what's the update on David Nichols?
Yeah, obviously it's unfortunate. He got the phone call Wednesday night after our Vermont game. And, that his sister was really struggling, and she wasn't going to make it much longer. And at that point in time, we had told David and the family, whatever you guys decide, we're going to support it 100%. We'll get him on the next plane home, and he can stay home for as long as everybody feels necessary. And, family's most important. And, so David and his family decided, once they knew that his sister only had hours at most, that was late Friday nights, and, the family decided that David would stay and play on Saturday and head home first thing Sunday morning. I sat down with David just to make sure, that, he wanted to play, and I wanted him to understand that he did not have to play. Even if he did not go home right away, he did not have to play. And he wanted to play, and quite frankly, I think his mindset was, for those 2 hours, I need an escape, if that's what you call it. I need those 2 hours to kind of, as relief, to release everything that, he was thinking about. And, to David's credit, he went out and played as hard as he could, and, was a lot more focused than I expected, and I thought he played well under very, very difficult circumstances. And he got on a plane Sunday morning at 6:30 and headed back to Chicago, and they were going to figure everything out this morning. And so right now it's just a giant question mark as far as when he will return or if he will return for Wednesday's game.
Time with head coach Will Brown, we do every Monday morning, and that is condolences again to David and his family, and what a tough loss that is for him, and mourning the death of his sister. And you're right, with his family first, to see if he makes it back in time for the game. What are your thoughts moving forward, Will, with or without Nichols, having to play Hartford back-to-back, same scenario as you had a year ago?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's the way the draw played out. We knew, from a coaching standpoint, we knew all the games were being played in the afternoon on Saturday, with the exception of our game. So we knew that if Binghamton beat Maine and we took care of business, we would play Binghamton. And we knew that if Binghamton lost and we took care of business, we would play Hartford. So really wasn't a great surprise. I think the only surprise from my end is that it's the second year in a row we finished the regular season playing Hartford at home. I'm not sure if that's happened. I've been in the league a long time. I'm not sure if that's happened where we've played the same team in our building to end the regular season 2 years in a row. But as far as our opponent is concerned, no issues, no concerns with it. This time of year, everybody gets a clean slate. It's just like the non-conference, Raj. When the non-conference ends, whether you played well or you struggled, and regardless of your record, a new season starts with conference play, and that's really how we're approaching it with the conference tournament. Regular season ends, wipe your slate clean. We're 0-0 in the tournament, so is Hartford. They call it March Madness for a reason. Everybody's got that same opportunity right now, and usually at the low major and the mid-major conferences, that's where all the craziness happens. You know, because some of these Power 5 conferences are going to get 8, 9, and I hear as many as 10 teams from a conference could go this year, especially the ACC. So, you know, the conference tournament, in my opinion, doesn't mean as much to the big boys. It means everything to the low major and mid majors because the majority of us are one big league. So, you know, you got to be ready to go. All your preparation needs to be focused on your first opponent because if you don't beat your first opponent, nothing else matters. So, you know, we play Hartford. They're a new team from a year ago. We're a new team. It's a new year. I do think that there's one or two things that they did last year in the tournament that they really have not done against us these first 2 regular season games. So we'll make sure that we're fully prepared for it so we're not caught off guard and there's no surprises. And in all reality, I think that if we play solid basketball and they play solid basketball, we'll be fine.
Will, later this afternoon, the conference will announce the yearly awards, Player of the Year, First Team, Second Team, Third Team, Defensive Player of the Year. Do you think either of your 2 sophomores, Joe Cremo or David Nichols, will wind up on that top-tier team?
Well, I think both. I'm pretty confident that both of them will make an all-conference team. I don't think either of them will slide down to the third team. It's a matter of will either of them be on the first team. A lot of it has to do with how coaches vote. You know, for me, for example, you can't vote for your own players, but as an example, I reward players on teams that win. I'm not overly impressed with 20 points a game on teams that come in 6th, 7th, 8th place. I think those kids can find a spot on the all-conference team, but I don't think they should be considered for first-team all-conference honors. So it depends on how coaches vote. Some coaches will vote strictly based on stats. Some will vote strictly based on the 2 games that they played against an opponent, and some will vote based on 16 conference games, and I look at what a guy has done through 16 games and how he's impacted his team on winning. We came in third in the regular season, so I don't think either one should fall below second team all-conference. What I think will happen is I think they will hurt each other because of how consistent they've been and how close their stats are. I think they might each get some first-place votes, which could hurt them and end up dropping both of them to second team. So I would not be surprised if both made second. If either one of them dropped below second, I would be absolutely shocked. But I also wouldn't be shocked if one of them slid on to that first team.
And, Will, the game on Wednesday night against Hartford is at 7:30, a little different than the 7 o'clock. So 7:30 for UA fans, and I'm sure you're hoping for a big crowd to support your team. It's nice to get the home court advantage, and hopefully the fans come out and make it a big home court advantage for your team on Wednesday night.
We have to get people in the building. There's no excuses why we can't, why we shouldn't. We've been promoting this since we knew we were going to have a home game, and that was my biggest disappointment in last year. Our senior night, that game was an unbelievable crowd, tremendous. And then we turned around a couple of days later, and in the quarterfinals, the place was half empty. I don't know what the reason for that was, but it was a dead atmosphere and it was empty. We can't allow that to happen. We need to have a great crowd. Crowds make a difference. They're not putting the ball in the basket for us, but when you're struggling, a crowd especially makes a big difference. So, I'd be disappointed if we weren't legitimately 3,500 plus for this game, and potentially it could be the only conference tournament game that we get to host at home Again, I think we should sell it out, but anything below 3,500 would be a disappointment. And whatever crowd we get, we have a responsibility, as a team to make sure we create the energy and enthusiasm in the building, and hopefully, they jump on board with us. We've played, that crowd at Vermont last week, Raj, was unbelievable. And there's no reason why we can't have that atmosphere. And I guarantee you, if we're fortunate enough to win against Hartford and we go down to Stony Brook will be sold out.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt.
We have to make sure that we pack them in. And I've been tweeting all weekend, and I'll continue to tweet and, let as many people as I can know that we're playing. And we need to get students there. And, it's a great time of year. And I do think we're playing pretty good basketball. And, I don't think Hartford will sneak up on us. They're going to play a ton of zone defense, and they're going to shoot, if they usually shoot 35 threes a game, they'll probably come out and shoot 100 threes a game. So, we just got to control what we can control. And I think if we're focused and we play close to our capabilities, everything will take care of itself.
Coach Will Brown every Monday morning here on Big Board Sports. We appreciate a few minutes. Good luck, Coach, Wednesday night against Hartford.
Well, help us get that crowd, man. I appreciate it. And let me ask Zach Byquick, who's going to be on the first team, Zach?
Are you talking
Put
about
you on the spot. You love these all-time teams, under 30 teams,
are you talking about Cremo
all Sakati center teams. I mean, who's going to be first team, second team?
Are you talking about Cremo or Nichols, or just in general?
I'm just talking about who.
I think first team.
There's no bias. There's no bias with you at all. So who's going to be first team? You had to vote.
I think it's Trey Bell Haynes, Joe Cremo, Jihad Thomas. Give me maybe Tanner Leisner, and I don't know, Raj. Who do you think?
You just named the four that I would have named.
And then
Woodhouse.
Woodhouse.
Yeah.
Woodhouse
Woodhouse from Stony Brook for sure. Yeah.
Those would be my five.
Okay.
Is that acceptable?
That's respectable.
Who's your first team?
I don't. You got to understand something. I can't tell you that because we might play a couple of these teams moving forward. And I don't want anybody to be upset with me. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
You just put them on the spot.
Play nice
all
then.
I'll do is I'll say this. In my opinion, which means very little, somebody from the University of Vermont should be the player of the year in the league. And I'll leave it at that.
All right.
Should be the player of the year. It's got to be Trey Bell Haynes, right?
All right. Yeah.
I would think.
I'll leave it at that. When you run the table,
yeah.
You got to look very closely at somebody on that team. And is there a reason why that team ran the table? And who's the most important guy on that team? I think that's what, in my opinion, is what we should be looking at. And statistics might say otherwise, but I think wins speak volumes.
And we certainly know Vermont has done an awful lot of winning with absolutely no losses in their conference schedule. They run the table, and they blew out Stony Brook at home on Saturday. Coach, thanks for a few minutes. Good luck on Wednesday.
Thanks, guys. See you on Wednesday.